Welcome to the Lyvely podcast. I'm your host, Dave Catudal, joined today by Emma Brain, who is an extremely interesting woman with an extremely interesting work history and the skill set that I really want to talk about today because it's one of those things that gets a lot of people that sense of fear when they hear it. Public speaking, communication, and all those, speech and communication related challenges that a lot of people face. So, Emma, let's dive in because I have some questions for you, and I'd love to hear more about your journey and what brought you to where you are today, and how did you get into the world of speaking?
First of all, Dave, thanks so much for having me on the podcast. It's a pleasure to be here. If you want to go way back and start at the beginning, my background is as a radio presenter, which I did for many, many years. And I literally fell into it when I was at university. And one of my housemates happened to volunteer at the local radio station. I became the anorak, as you do. You hang out, you meet all the guys, you go and volunteer. So I used to hang out in the studios and put demos together. And then I started off producing the weekend sports show. So that's what I did. No sporting background, but they needed a runner and a producer. I was like, I'll do it. It's fine. And then I basically trained on the job to be a journalist and reporter in the newsroom. So a lot of the things I've learned to do, I've learned from experience and training on the job, which you can't do these days. It's very difficult. It's very rare to get into it the way I did.
Right.
And we used to kind of hang out in the studios and put demos together. And then one fateful day, a presenter went sick and the PD was like, "You're up. Do you want to have a go?" And it kind of just snowballed from there. So I worked in radio in Devon in the UK and also in Wales, worked for a few radio stations in Wales. And then I came to the UAE in 2003. So I did Radio 1's breakfast show for many years.
I'm sure a lot of people recognize that voice.
So I worked for Radio 1, Radio 2, Channel 4, Coast, ARN. So that's kind of my radio journey. And I've done some TV work as well. And I worked as an actor, as an extra getting into that. And so, and a professional voiceover. And I do a lot of event hosting. I love being on stage and talking to an audience, and it breaks my heart when I've got on stage and I've hyped up a speaker and I've given them a big intro and then they get up there and fall flat and I'm sitting there going, what just, and I'm dying by the side of the stage. And it just kind of dawned on me that I have all this experience from 30 years of doing it. I've made the mistakes and I've seen the pitfalls. Right. Why don't I start helping others?
I love
to
that.
Do it.
Wow, I love that. Well, first of all, I didn't know. I knew that you were a professional speaker.
Yeah.
I know that a lot of people listening to this have heard your voice before, and they probably don't know where, but now that probably helps. Dubai One, the various radio shows. But like you said, it's if you haven't built up the skill set, how are you supposed to be good at it, right? I enjoy speaking, but it took a lot of practice, and I've had my moments where I had to present something and just blank and nerves and anxiety. And so we're in a world right now where expressing yourself online and, coming across to people who have a very limited attention span, it's becoming a real asset. Like being able to communicate and share your message is a huge asset. So you had the fortune of literally, like you said, you fell into it, and then it just evolved, right, to a full-fledged career. Have you, along your way, like you were just saying, have you actually coached people to improve their speaking and communication skills? Like, is that a one-to-one thing, or how did that happen professionally?
Again, I started putting myself out there. I was running voiceover workshops to help people that wanted to get into voiceovers, and they were like, "It's amazing." And people would approach me and actually ask me. They started approaching me. Can you help? You obviously do it for a living. Can you help me? A really cool thing happened a couple of years ago, and I know several people were asked to pitch for it, and I won the pitch. So yay me! But a company actually took me around the world. They ran an event called Respiverse, which was a conference for medical professionals within the respiratory realm. So it's surgeons and practitioners and GPs and CEOs within that medical realm dealing with respiratory issues. And they wanted someone to teach soft skills. So everything, because they wanted someone to help people who are in certain positions be able to communicate effectively with the people they're teaching.
Okay, I get that now.
So I went, so I was like, this is so cool. So I did one in Dubai, then they took me to Panama, then they took me to Istanbul, and they took me to Bangkok. So I was
Wow.
like, I can now put global coach on my CV,
Check that
which
off.
is amazing.
Yeah.
I've also been doing it with a friend for people within the hospitality industry. People like bar staff who end up being therapists in their job half the time. But I'm also like to these guys, guess who gets the most tips? The most amenable, most people that are understood, who are the best communicators,
Yeah.
the best people that give the best customer service.
Absolutely.
And communication is part of that customer service.
So
So,
fascinating.
you know, during university, I did bar work, I did waitressing, I did silver service, I did switchboard and receptionist. So I have that background, which helps as well. It's all, and communication is something we're really bad at these days. And because of my background working in radio and voiceovers, the voice is something that really excites me. It's the most important tool you have in your communications toolbox. And people forget this. And as a friend and fellow coach says, what happens if you're hooked up to a heart rate monitor and it flatlines? What happens?
You're dead.
You're dead. So if someone's got a really boring monotone voice and everything, your audience is dead.
I
Your
like
audience
that.
is dead.
I like that.
So you gotta
Okay,
bring
yeah.
the energy and bring everything. It's so
Right,
important
right.
to have an amazing voice and speak well.
It is. And again, this is why I'm happy we're having this conversation, because so many people listening and so many people in the creator economy or in the business world, and again, I'm speaking from both sides now, the ability to communicate a message with confidence, whether it's in a business pitch, whether it's just in a team meeting, whether you're in a leadership position, or if you're a digital creator and you want to get that message across, or from a sales perspective, if you want to sell something. Communication is such a critical part of that transaction, but we're never taught how, right? It's kind of like we see people that we admire in that and we try to emulate that. But could you break it down for us? Like, okay, so let's say you had, I'm going to use digital creator. Let's say you had a digital creator come to you and you watch their stuff and you're like, okay, you're getting there, but you're like, you're missing some core foundation. How do you build that foundation? What is the first place you would start?
Get to the point.
I'm bad at that.
Get to the point.
Do you see how long it took me to get to that point?
Somebody, they're
Teach
going
me.
around the houses, right? They're going around the houses, and you're like, what? And I hate to say it, I get frustrated when I scroll through TikTok or Instagram or whatever platform it is at the moment, and people are going for the hard sell. Right? They're going for the hard sell, whatever they're saying, because there's a lot of sales stuff out there. Of
course.
Well, be creative with it. Create a story, create a narrative. Storytelling is something that people are inherently bad at. Use storytelling methods to get your point across, but get to the point. And then what are your key sales points? One person I always come back to is Steve Jobs. He was brilliant. He is one of the best presenters out there, and one of the things he did was like the power of three. So you have 3 key points and then repetition of things like that, but it was interesting as well
And simple.
and one thing people are really bad at is making things relatable. How does something relate to you? If you're trying to get the point across on social media, how does it relate to you? But most importantly, how does it relate to your audience? What's the thing that's going to make someone stop scrolling? Yeah, I can totally relate to that. That could help me in this way.
Right.
It's the connection is what we're looking for.
That's so much deeper than just communication. So I was expecting you to give me some groundwork on like voice control or something, but you're going back to the roots.
This is the main thing of communication and getting people's attention.
Storytelling.
Why are your friends your friends? Because you have things in common, right?
Yes.
That's the key to everything. Why would people be interested in you? Because you have something in common and you're relatable. And then everything else comes.
Right.
And then you go, how do I get my message across? How do I make it sound interesting? How do I story tell? How do I get the relatability in there? But it's the connection that for me, I think is the first key. I've seen people get up on stage or content creators create things, and they start off with something that you think is completely irrelevant. I went to a cybersecurity thing, and one of the speakers got up there, and he was talking about kale and chocolate, and everyone's like sitting there going, "Where is he going with this?" And then about 10 minutes in, he brought it all together, and they're all like, "Oh, okay."
Storytelling.
But in the palm of his hand.
Right. Okay. Wow. So I mean, look, there's a lot of components. There's a lot of components. But this is why it's such an important topic, is because this is a skill we all, it's subjective, but many people wish to have this skill, and many people are scared to even start, to put themselves out there, because what makes you good at something? Practice. At the end of the day, a lot of people are afraid to practice. So do you work in a one-on-one position now with people? Do you take on clients? Are you doing a course? Like, tell us a little bit more about how, and tell me more. Selfishly, I want to know, where your career and skill set has brought you to today. Are you using that for a business now?
So I do have one-on-one clients, which I like because I like to work with people in person, because then online is difficult because you can't see the whole what's going on, because
Good point.
it's not just the voice, it's about the body language and everything that goes with it. So I like to work with people in person. So I get them to stand up, and they're usually running around the room doing crazy exercises going, "This person's crazy," but it works. Trust the process. And I also love to work with groups of people. So when we work with the hospitality guys, it's normally like 15 to 20 people, which gets bonkers, but they love it, because when you work with a group of people, they like, because you have people in different levels, right?
Yes.
So they can see where others are better than they are. And also when you have a group of people in the room, it's more scary on one hand, because they're having to put that fear of talking in front of others, because I make them get up and do it.
Right. Oof.
It's practice. There's no point me sitting there telling you to do it. You have to do it.
Yeah.
When they're standing up talking in front of other people, you can see they're terrified. And some people physically shaking.
I've been there.
But the more they do it, and because they're in a room full of people, they know it's like a little mini support system.
And they're all doing the same thing.
And
that
all
probably
doing
helps.
it.
Yeah.
So it helps.
Yeah.
So in that respect, group coaching I love, because it just brings a little bit of added value. It brings more to it.
I love that. Okay. So now when you say, okay, group coaching, and then are you now building something in the coaching space? Because we lightly talked about something. I'm kind of trying to pull it out of you. I'm like, let's talk about that. We discussed earlier, like offline, about like community building and the power of community and communication. So, because I see a huge opportunity here, I'll be honest. I like communication, speaking, and the way you're storytelling. Yeah. I think this is like the skill set of the future, because things are becoming so impersonal now that people are craving that, that more personal, attention, whether it's in a communities or whether that's, like online. So tell me a little bit more about that, like what you're working with.
So I'm working with a friend of mine who's doing coaching for students. And she was like, students these days have to do presentation on camera and in person. So let's put a course together for the students, for the youngsters. So I'm working on that. I'm also working on using Lyvely as a platform to help women in my age bracket become more confident, and people in general, and put things out there. And I'd love to do online courses there as well, with everything from the breathing to the voice to the body language to how to speak and communicate properly, but also targeting women my age and trying to get brands to work with us, collected severely. And I've also, in the last couple of days, I'm very excited about it, but I'm nervous as hell, because it's something that's been in my brain for a long time. I'm like, just do it. I've had people that are supporting me. I'm doing my first event in September.
Okay, congratulations.
I'm doing my first event.
Tell me more.
I'm just doing it. So it's called Beyond Confidence.
Oh, nice. I like that.
And we're doing,
like that.
So it's mindset, mindfulness, health and fitness, and social influence.
Whoa.
So, and it's the first one. It's a little tiny event, because it's going to be the first one in what I hope will be a series of events. So the first one is kind of like an overall thing. So I've got some amazing speakers and an amazing panel. It'll just be short for a couple of hours, but I'm very excited. Everyone I've asked has bitten like, we're on board, we're here to support you, let's do it.
I'm glad I asked that question. So what are you working on now? We're going to switch topic a little bit, because we just went from hearing about your, history and background in speaking and communication, and now we're going into like personal development and, like improving people's well-being, and you're adding fitness and you're adding the whole mindset elements.
Because it's all about confidence, and confidence is not, it's not just one thing. It's a series of things, like with fitness and health, healthy body, healthy mind. So I might have another Lyvely creator who's going to be one of my speakers talking about a mindset. Confident mindset. Wow,
that happened fast.
So it happened real fast.
Okay.
So that's good. So
right.
We're doing all these things, but it's a whole synergy, and there's so many different elements to being confident, and it's not just one thing. And I think no one's brought all these things together in one forum. So I was like, no one else is doing it, I might as well.
I love that. And so you're hosting this in September in Dubai. Is this for, because you mentioned women your age?
Look, this is an event that's going to be open to everyone.
I love it.
It's going to be open to everyone.
Because it can help everyone.
Yeah, it was going to help everyone, but I do want to do targeted things for women in my age bracket, of alongside that. And I've been speaking to, founders and creators of the other women's groups in the UAE, because we all have to work together, right?
Collaboration.
No one's working on their own. You've got to work together, which is why, we've invited some of them to be speakers in this and everything. And it's all about joining forces. And I don't think you can gatekeep stuff like this. You've got to work together.
Yeah, I love that, by the way, because like you said, gatekeep, good word. A lot of people, when it comes to the coaching industry, they feel this sense of scarcity. I've talked about this before, but like you said from the get-go, you're in a collaboration. Like this is all about bringing people into your network, sharing clients, because there's plenty of them. So I love that. So what made you just say, I'm going to host an in-person event and I'm going to bring people together and it's going to be in person? Like, that's a big undertaking.
It is.
Is this something you've been planning for a while?
It's been in my head for a while. And, speaking to other people and seeing what other people are doing. And I've spoken to friends about it and they're like, honestly, you've just, don't be afraid. Yes, it's scary as heck. Doing your first event, but they're just like I've seen some other friends of mine do it, and they're like, look, we are here to support you. If you want to do it, we'll support you every step of the way. And Beautiful. They have. So I was just like, just do it. What can go wrong? People don't show up, so what? The first one, it'll be fine. But I hope it will be a stepping stone to a much larger thing that, like I said, it's not going to be a one-off. It wants to be a series of events.
So that sounds like an incredible event, and I'm definitely going to attend. Now that I know it's not just for women, it's open for all. And I definitely categorize myself as someone who wants to improve my speaking, my communication. What would your tip be to, again, it could be a digital creator, it could be someone in business, anybody who wants to communicate better? Like, is it books? Is it go to YouTube and watch a video? Is it hire a coach? Like, where's the starting point?
Just to start in doing what you're doing. But honestly, one of the best things you can do is probably have a coach, have someone, because someone needs to have an objective point of view, right? If you're too close to the project, as it were, you don't see where the improvements need to be. And this, in fact, goes for not just people starting out, but people that have been doing it for a long time. Because I always say some of the hardest people to coach are the people at the top of the game that have been doing it for a long time, because they think that they can just talk and people will naturally just listen because of what they have to say or their skills and experience. That's not the case, because people change and you have to know your audience. You can't speak to a boomer the way you would to a Zennial or an Alpha. They're completely different mindsets.
100%.
Also, one of the great places to start, record yourself on camera. How do you come across the people?
Nobody likes that. Nobody likes that. Exactly. I hate that.
But there's two reasons why.
But that's probably good, right?
Yeah. I always say there's two reasons why. One is the voice, because and everyone, when they hear their voice back, they go, "Oh God, do I sound like that?" Because the voice you hear in your head is going through all your skeletal musculature structures and everything, right? So you hear your voice almost internally. It's not the voice other people hear. When you play your voice back or see yourself on camera, that's the voice other people hear.
Okay.
Which is why people go, do I sound like that? Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Also, when you see yourself back on camera, you're seeing the flipped image, again, what other people see. Because we're used to just looking at ourselves in the mirror. So you're looking at a mirror image, not
That's
the image
subtle,
other people
but
see.
I guess that probably has a big impact.
It does. On a lot of
never thought
people, they
about
go, what? Exactly. And if you've never thought about it, no one else has thought about it either. It's really important. It's a great starting place. Because if you don't record yourself and look it back, because you have to be your own best critic, right? Your own best critic, not worst critic, best critic.
Right, I like
because
that.
we're all hyper self-critical. And you can go, well, I don't like that, and I don't like that, and I don't like that. And then you write down all those pain points, and then you go to a coach and you go, these are the problems I have, help.
Okay, no, but
Right?
that's clear, right?
Yeah.
That's clear because, I mean, you can't fix what you don't know is broken, right? So
Exactly.
if you have the data, like, okay, I don't like this, I don't like this, whether it's the way your body position is, and if you're observing yourself, then you can, I love that. You go to a coach and you say, look, these are the things I don't like. Now the coach probably might say, well, actually, that's not your problem. Yeah.
Which is why I always say to people, I say, send me videos of you. If you're already speaking, send me your videos of you on stage or talking to an audience or doing whatever it is you're doing, or send me some videos that you've made of your content creation. Then I can sit there and pull it apart and look at it critically, and then give you the feedback and then say, well, you need to work on this, this, and this. One thing I see a lot with content creators, and I did this with a couple of them, they sent me their videos and they're happy showing the content, the products, doing whatever they're doing, the unboxings, and they're putting their self on camera with captions. And I go, where's the voiceover? Why aren't you speaking on camera? And I'm like, but that's a whole extra sensory part that you're not giving your audience.
That's very interesting.
Right? I'm like, why aren't you using your voice? I don't like the sound of my voice, is what comes back. I'm like, well, why aren't you working on your voice then?
Because people don't think they can change their voice.
You can, but you can.
Yeah, you can tell. I mean, you have a trained voice.
It's a
I can
trained
tell.
voice,
I
it
can
trains,
tell. Yeah. But that is your voice now.
It's I speak naturally, but if you listen to radio presenters, how they sound normally, and then they
100%.
have their radio voice,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. The same with actors. Actors can, and theatre actors and all the rest of it, they can change their voices, but they're trained to do it. They've learnt to do it. And how do they do that? Coaching. Right? It all comes back to you always need that outside help and practice. I always say to people, it sounds ridiculous, but go back to when you were at school, how you were learning to read. You read aloud.
Ooh,
A lot of kids, you read aloud
You're just
because you
giving me
learn
flashbacks
how to
of middle school.
But this
wow.
is how you learn to vocalize. You read aloud. So why don't people read aloud now? And this is when I was learning to be a newsreader. A vocal coach who was a theatre coach as well. She's like, don't care what it is, read everything aloud. Read aloud. Get used to your own voice.
That's
and the ups and downs and the volume control and everything else. It's a tool. You got to train it. Like anything, you'd got to train the tool.
That's the key message right there. Like, if you want to get good at something, you have to train it, right? So I like that. Okay, so to recap, you record yourself. That is uncomfortable. You're probably not going to like it at first, but you're going to learn a lot from that, right?
100%.
So, and then work with a coach.
Yeah.
So do you work, have online coaching? Do you offer that right now?
At the moment, I prefer to work with the in-person because it just gives me that extra little thing because I can fix people quite quickly.
I hear you. Yeah. Objective.
Online coaching, it's fine. I have done it, but it's like I said, I'm sitting there on a Zoom call and I've got 10 other people. And it's like, I can't give the individual that I can in a room full of people. And the problem is if you have 10 people all online, they can only see so much of each other. Whereas if you have 10 people in a room with group coaching, they learn so much more from each other. And a lot of coaches will go, but that's not the way you make money in person coaching. But that's where I see the most effect and are able to help others more, which is, to be honest, it's more important to me. That's the difference between me and other people, right? I'm not in it for that. I want to help other people improve, not make a fast buck.
Love that. Love that. So I want to wrap back to the event that you're hosting. Yeah. So is that something, are you going to be like, because I might go to this event, right? So I'm like, are you going to be putting people in that situation where you're working on their communication and speaking skills in that, or is it not for that? Is it taking a less specific direction?
This first one is kind of an overall thing. So we've got a coach who's talking about the confident mindset, how to do that. I'm doing communication and emotional intelligence. Another speaker is doing personal branding. And then we have a panel session where we have a fitness coach. We have someone who's an entrepreneur and a businesswoman, someone that runs the female groups, and someone who is a styling coach and a personal identity coach. So yeah,
That's a first.
We're bringing a lot.
Wow, that's very holistic.
It's a lot, and I've actually made this event smaller than my original intention because it's kind of it's the first one, so it's an overall picture.
Got it.
And then in subsequent events, we're going to dial down into everything.
I like that.
We're going to deep dive into
I really
everything.
like that.
Yeah.
Because there's so many components to that one experience.
It's so big.
But it's scary, but it's exciting. I already see the business brain now. I already see the opportunity for you to break that down into little chunks and to have each one have its own mini event that's more specific for those.
That's the plan. That's the plan.
Smart.
That's the plan.
Smart.
So, yeah.
Very good. Very good. Amazing. Well, look, what I want to know now is where can people find you?
So I have my website, so emmabrain.com. Find me on Lyvely. Emma
That's
Brain
right. Welcome to
Official
Lyvely, by the way.
my username, and this is where I want to do like targeted content. This is where the exclusive content. My Instagram is more like my work CV and what I do work-wise, and more of a personal blog. But Lyvely is where I want to put the good stuff.
I love it.
The good stuff is where you're going to find
Looking
it.
forward to seeing your good stuff on Lyvely. It's been a pleasure, Emma. Great to speak with you, and I look forward to your event.
Thank you. It's been a great chat.